So I made a video yesterday talking about some NFL drama that went down earlier this week, and now it looks like we got some college football drama to discuss. So earlier this week, Alabama had, their final spring practice, and Nick Saban was holding his press conference when he was asked a question about players leaving after their junior season for the NFL draft. Now Nick Saban, who has voiced his opinions on this in the past, decided to go all in. And while he was going all in, he called out one of his former players. Take a listen.
You got your third round draft pick, and we had one here last year. I'm not mentioning any names. Goes and starts for his team, so he's making third round money, which is not that great. Be the first guy taking his position this year probably, and make $15, $18 million more.
So without naming any names, I was able to figure it out, but he was talking about Ronnie Harrison. So in 2017, Ronnie Harrison declared for the NFL draft, but he wasn't selected into the third round by the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I guess for Nick Saban, he didn't think this was the correct move for Ronnie Harrison. Now, it definitely is odd to see an Alabama player go in the third round. I mean, we're pretty much accustomed to seeing them go in the first round, maybe early second. So having an Alabama player fall to the third round was definitely something that I guess Nick Saban didn't like. So now, obviously, this news was able to make its way to Ronnie Harrison. And he took to Twitter to, let his voice be heard. Coaches get so butthurt nowadays about a kid making a decision to live out his dreams and go pro. Makes me think, do you really care about the success of the kid or how well your program performs? Hashtag keep my name out your mouth. Hashtag Bama Saban. Hashtag God got it. So now Ronnie Harrison is currently entering his second year of his 4-year contract that I believe pays around $3.5 million. So he's making between $800,000 and $900,000 a year. Now also joining in on the Twitter discussion was former Alabama assistant and now current FAU head coach Lane Kiffin. If 60 juniors got second and third round grades, how would they all go in the top 15 if they come back? Some come back and go in worse rounds than what their junior grades were. Love when kids leave and fulfill their dreams. What do you say if they get hurt and lose money? Hashtag facts. Hashtag Matt Barkley. So I love that he brings up Matt Barkley because I'm sure as you guys remember, if Matt Barkley would have left after his junior year, he likely would have been the first quarterback taken, maybe the number 1 overall pick. Instead, he returned for his senior season and in the last game of the year against UCLA, got injured and completely ruined his NFL draft stock. My thoughts on the situation are, why does Nick Saban really care? I mean, here he is every year getting the elite of the elite when it comes to recruits. If he's losing Ronnie Harrison, I think he's going to be just fine. Now, me personally, I've said it before, unless you're going to be like a first or second rounder, I think you should definitely go back, get your degree, and get a chance to improve your draft stock. But for some of these players, like you don't know their background, you know where they come from, if you have a chance to go third round, you gotta go third round. I know Nick Saban talked about how if you go first round, you can get a lot more money. You can get millions more by going in the first round. But making $900,000 a year for 4 years isn't that bad at all. I would be very down to make $900,000 a year. And for most of these players, they could only improve their draft stock so much. I mean, how often do we see a junior decide to come back for his senior year that was projected maybe third, fourth round, around that area, and he comes back and improves himself to a first round pick? It doesn't really happen that often. And as we see happen more often than not, guys will stay for their senior season and their draft stock takes a massive hit. Again, I'm all for getting your college degree, playing all 4 years, but if you can get into the NFL now, get that contract, then by all means go for it. It's just weird seeing Nick Saban criticize one of his former players when it literally doesn't affect his team at all. Like, he's getting replacements year after year. Losing Ronnie Harrison shouldn't have been that big of a deal. And to make matters worse, you're literally criticizing, I don't know how old he was, 19 or 20 years old. You're criticizing a 20-year-old kid for going into the NFL, making $900,000 a year, where you're just sitting back at Bama and you're making, I think, $9 million a year. So yeah, Saban, you're in no position to talk about kids wanting to go and get that paycheck. But yeah, so I just thought that was interesting how Nick Saban called out one of his former players, but I like that Ronnie Harrison clapped back, and having Lane Kiffin get in on this, that just made it that much better. It'll be interesting to see if this affects any current Alabama players or Alabama recruits, knowing that if they want to leave after their junior year, are they going to be getting called out by Nick Saban for doing so? Who knows? I mean, Bama's still going to be Bama. Switching things over now to the Clemson side of things, wide receiver Justyn Ross had a very, very interesting interview this past week. With the XFL coming in 2020, Ross was asked if that would entice college football players to leave their, respected programs and head to the XFL where they can make some money. Now with the XFL, there's no age requirements, so literally freshmen, sophomore, juniors, seniors that are in college, they can head to the XFL if they want. In the interview, Ross said, There are guys right now in college football that would take that money and run. Now, per Bleacher Report, XFL Commissioner Oliver Luck sent a letter last year to agents informing them that the XFL could pay as much as $200,000 a year for elite players. The XFL isn't paying that premium salary for NFL castoffs or guys that have been cut, one agent told Bleacher Report. They're aiming directly at college football players. Now, this is very, very interesting. If the XFL is offering $200,000 for an elite college football player, why would any college football player turn this down and stay in college? If this is the case, even if it's $100,000, I think we're going to be seeing a whole bunch of these college football stars transitioning to the XFL for a year or two, getting that paycheck, and then moving on to the NFL. If the XFL is offering that kind of money, that's hard for an 18 or 19-year-old to turn down. If you really need that money, oh yeah, go do that. Something could happen. You could get hurt. Anything can happen. You have to take care of yourself because it can be over just like that. And he's true, it could be over just like that. Now, if you're going to risk injury, I feel like a lot of these players would rather risk injury while making $100,000 a year instead of playing for free in college. So there's still a lot of info that needs to be drawn out with this, but this is a very interesting topic that Justyn Ross brought up. And I think a lot of college coaches and colleges should be concerned. Because if this is true, where they're going to be paying $200,000 for the top talent, I just don't see any way these top recruits want to stay in college. As I mentioned, even if it's half that, only $100,000, money talks. These guys are going to want to get paid and then transition to the NFL from the XFL. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this XFL turns out and if college football players start taking this route, because if that's the case, college football can be in a lot of trouble. But as I mentioned, that's a ways off, so we don't have to worry about that right now. I just thought it was interesting. I thought that Justyn Ross brought up a really good point. So yeah, I'd like to know your guys' thoughts if college football players should go to the XFL for a year or two, get their money, and then go to the NFL, or should they just stay in college? Yeah guys, that wraps up this video. Thank you so much for checking it out. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up before you leave. This has been Blake, and I will see you guys in the next video.